Cheers.
Nice.
Cheers. All right. Philotimo. Very excited to have you on. My brother, Zack, who most people who watch this probably already know that anyways. But so we're both kind of tired, both kind of out of it.
Yeah.
We didn't want to do anything too in depth. We want to do something a little lighter. You don't know this topic. I'm going to throw it right at you. Do you think people, let's say young people getting into the world, should drink, smoke, do drugs? Now, before we start this, do your own research. We do not condone breaking the law in any way. You know, do your legal research, do your medical research. We are not responsible for any decisions you make.
Yeah. That's a really good point. It's just such a vast spectrum, you know. Drugs, for example, so many different kinds. Some that are pretty much harmless, arguably beneficial. If you look at marijuana, like half the country is legal for medical purposes. But then there's ones that'll straight up, you know, mess you up. But I guess to answer your question, I guess it's like how young, you know?
That's a good point.
18 years old, I think you should have a sober brain. I think your brain is still developing. There's just no rush, you know? There's just no rush. It's just this huge urge. Like, people just want to get fucked up, you know? It's like a huge urge for it. There's no rush. You got your whole life to party responsibly. But if done right and responsibly, then I kind of, you know, condone the search for expansion mentally and in a lot of ways spiritually. But yeah, I don't know. Hard to put an age on it. Yeah. You know, hard to put an age on when humans are so individualized and so complex that it's, you know, you might have a 30-year-old that absolutely, no, don't try Molly. Don't try to, you know, you'll act like a fool. Or you might have a 21-year-old that absolutely, yeah, try it. Try to find the benefits that it shows you. Or I just use Molly as a random example, you know, kind of a common party drug. Yeah, I think amongst the hipsters these days.
Yeah, there's a lot of nuance. There's a lot of, might be one of the most nuanced topics there is. You know, you have to know yourself. You have to know what you're getting into. You know, it's, you know, there's a reason a lot of drugs have been used, as we were talking about beforehand, in spiritual practices around the world for centuries. You know, there's a reason for it. You know, people they're learning, they're expanding, they're getting in touch with deeper spiritual things.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a reason why there's so many homeless people and why there's people missing their teeth and, you know, naked in Florida eating people's faces off.
Yeah, those bath salts.
You know what I mean? Like, there's, you know, I know a few people who have done, you know, they were in the right state of mind. They did their research. They knew what they were getting into. They were not looking to party. They were looking to grow and learn and expand. And they came back from their experience and they were a better person because of it. Yeah, they had to let go to a part of their past. They changed, you know, but it's not like they walked into a portal and walked out 500 years later. You know, they may have progressed 3 to 4 years down the road. It's like, well, that's a pretty large mental leap to, you know, they go on this vacation, they do this experience with these, you know, and they come back 2 weeks later and they're 4 years older. That's a large jump.
Yeah.
However, that was good for them. On the flip side of that, we know people, and I know people who got into the wrong ones, you know, and you literally watch their body die, you know. So yeah, there's a lot of nuance to that topic.
Yeah.
A lot of nuance.
Yeah. Yeah, it's nothing to be taken lightly.
No.
There's good ones, there's bad ones. And so, yeah, don't want to be an idiot and go down the wrong path, doing bad shit. That'll just consume your mental capacity and take over. It's like, anytime you're going to dabble in drugs, like, it's okay to, like, tip your toes into the water and, you know, see what you can take and see what benefits whatever it is you're doing has to offer you. But you always have to stay in control of whatever it is that you might have the desire to experiment in, you know.
Yeah.
As soon as like, oh shoot, I didn't pay this bill this month because I went out and bought too much of this, and it's starting to literally affect my life. Or worst case scenario is if you mentally can't, you need it, and it's starting to control you and get a grip, then that's too far. You've crossed the line.
And another example of going too far, which is one that kind of sneaks up on you, or at least I've seen it sneak up on people, is they don't realize the future damage they're doing. Then they come out of it a couple years later, and you know, this common event that you could do, going in public, you know, being social with strangers. They can go in public, but they used to be very outgoing, you know, just, you know, they were okay in social settings. Now you can just see it in them. They can't do it. And then, you know, you talk to them and they're like, oh, dude, something's not the same and it's not good. Yeah, I pulled good from it, but there was a few times where I just went a little too hard. And now I literally, for the last 10 years of my life, you know, this is what this person is saying, for the last 10 years of their life, they cannot really operate well in social situations. Well, guess what? Every other aspect of your life depends on operating well socially, whether that be with a romantic partner, a family, work, just in public.
Yeah.
So you have to, you know, but then on the flip side of that, you see people who are just assholes, you know, and they do this and it just crushes their being, breaks them down as if they were in the military. And then they spend the next 2-3 years building themselves up, and now they're a better person. It's like, wow, you know, I did not like who you were before. And now you're actually a decent human being. You're actually, you know, you actually try to be respectful. You actually try to be a good human. And you ask them, well, what happened? They're like, well, during this event on this particular substance, I came to the realization that I'm a piece of shit. You know, I am a piece of shit. And I don't want to be that way. And the people I love deserve better. So,
yeah.
So,
yeah, I have heard of like great lessons being learned. Almost like you take like mushrooms or something. They like have something to offer you, you know. Yeah, it almost really has to be looked at as more of it has to be like approached from like a point of respect, not just like a party thing, you know? And heck, if you look in the military these days, it's becoming more and more common. It's not legal in the United States, but in Mexico, up in Canada, ayahuasca, you know?
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. You have shamans. There's a crazy screening process. You go through 2 months of therapy with a therapist, and then that therapist is with you in Mexico with the shaman, along with the whole medical staff, nurses, doctor, everything, monitoring your blood and everything, or your heart rate and stuff. So you got to go through 2 months of therapy sessions. While you're going through the therapy sessions, you have to start detoxing and eliminating all meds you're on, because a lot of vets, basically right now, the military, like PTSD procedures are terrible. You get out, you're kind of just thrown to the wolves. You say, I'm like depressed on, thoughts of suicide, stuff like this, big problems that you're psychologically having because you just went through war. And basically the military is kind of like, well, take this pill, this pill, this pill. So then you're on 3 meds. Then that's kind of fucking you up in a lot of other different areas of your life. You start drinking. Well, I mean, the rate of ex-military suicide is just insane. So most military guys that get to the point where they're, it's like drugs have such a negative
Connotation.
Yeah, connotation, aura around them. You hear drug.
Reputation.
Bad, And military, they're straight edge, hard dudes. They're not druggies, They have to be sharp and accurate. Mm-hmm. So for a military guy to be like, yeah, I'll try this old ancient, this old ancient tribe down in Mexico's sacred medicine, basically. They have to be in, kind of a rough shape. So odds are they're on a bunch of different pills already. So you go through therapy sessions in the months leading up to the actual session, which is a week long. And you detox from every med you're on. So you have to be sober and functioning soberly,
Mm-hmm.
before you even get approved to go.
Okay.
And a lot of people don't get approved to go. They're just a little too messed up. Like,
okay.
But if you can go through basically the screening process and get to Mexico, it's like a week long. You have a shaman. You have like a whole medical staff. You have the therapist that you've been seeing for the months prior. And you do 3 trips. One is just a tippy toe. The shaman is in charge of the dosage. He just gives you a little bit. And you just kind of get to know. it, It doesn't really show you much. It's more of, it's you getting to know it.
It's like having a beer.
Yeah.
Kind of see what the taste is like.
It's like having your first beer.
Yeah.
It's like I feel like 30 pounds lighter as I'm walking to the bathroom to pee.
I'm not drunk, and I might not even be buzzed, but I feel different.
I haven't felt this before.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Night 2 is...
How much you got? Yeah,
I'm good. All right. Night 2 is high dose. This is it. This is what you've been preparing for. Whatever the drug has to show you, whatever you need to see, they're going to give you a dose. The shaman's going to give you a dosage where you see what you need to see.
All right, so you're going in.
You're going in. You're basically... So while this is happening, you're laying on a bed. They blindfold you. They play relaxing music.
Oh, that sounds weird.
Yeah, it's like in a medical
facility, or in.
It's in like monitored. It's in a very authentic little hut.
Okay, but you're monitored.
You are monitored.
Okay.
It's almost like a medical experiment.
Okay.
More than like I'm tripping.
It kind of sounds like a buzzkill.
Yeah, I was thinking of that too. Kind of like, man, I wouldn't want to lay still with a blindfold. Like,
Hell no.
I get too much in my head.
Hell no.
You know?
I can't even. I'm having a hard time drinking a beer.
Yeah.
Sitting here.
No, but that's how they do it. That's how they do it. Yeah.
Okay.
You're laying on a bed. The nurses and the psychiatrists, they're right there.
Okay.
They'll check your pressures and stuff, your blood pressures and stuff. But then, I've heard, I listened to several podcasts, heard several vets. Like I say, if they're going for this, they're in a pretty rough state. It's kind of like a last resort, you know.
Okay.
And so they pretty much need to be shown something, and they get shown it. One guy was telling, it was actually a female Canadian artillery gunner, and she got all messed up mentally, PTSD, severe. It was a 5.5 hour podcast.
Wow.
On the Jocko podcast.
Wow. Okay. After this is done, please let me know what that was.
Yeah, I'll look it up. It's the 280s.
Okay.
But so she said that you just forget your physical body down on Earth. You're going places. And she literally went up to her squad. She was an artillery gunner. She can't remember the details, but she qualified to go out with like a recon unit. So it was very rare. Like, she was undertrained to be going behind enemy lines and doing this mission, but she did.
Okay.
They got ambushed pretty much. They got obliterated. She survived. A couple other guys survived. Like 6 were dead. And then it just hit her hard, you know. It's crazy. Some people have, it's like some people can take more abuse, but some people just have a bigger cup that, like, the abuse fills up the cup. You know, some people have a gallon, so they've received a lot of abuse. And then some people are shot glass. And so this was her big mission, you know, and she was psychologically messed up worse than some dudes who have had 18 tours, you know. But hey, I've never been in that situation, so I'm not, you know, saying she's a wuss. She's
obviously not.
Yeah.
Either way, though, she hit her max. So
yeah, she hit her max.
She hit to the point, probably not her max, obviously, but she hit it to a point where she was like, I need answers. I think this is the best route.
Yeah. She was extremely suicidal.
Okay.
So she shot up into the air and literally physically, like you and I, this is how, as she described, like you and I are talking right now, she went up and saw her squad, her 6 members that died.
Oh, dear.
And she sat up there talking with them.
Oh, okay.
And I guess her body down at this time was starting to vomit and like convulse. Purge, yeah. They say it's not like a pleasant experience on the second night when you're on your high dosage and the drug's going to show you what you need to see. Physically, it's not a pleasant experience.
I've heard that purging is a very common experience on ayahuasca.
They say the harder you purge, the more you're connecting or learning.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And so she was at the point physically where the nurses were trying to snap her out of the...
They thought it was too much.
Yeah. They said, we've never seen anyone purge this hard. Like, you were extreme.
Okay.
She was up there not wanting to go, connected, bawling her eyes out, you know, oh, I'm so sorry, you know, and she said that, I can't remember their names, but her squad guys were, you know, like, we're fine. We're happy up here, you know. You need to go down there and get your shit together because you're a wreck. She had a daughter at this point. She wasn't being a good mom because she was, you know, suicidal and extreme PTSD, extreme. It was a very intense podcast. But basically, they were like, we're fine. And, you know, you need to live your life down there. Other people are counting on you. Whenever it's your time and you die, we'll meet again. You know, we'll be right here waiting for you. Now go, you know. I don't want to leave. Go, you know. And then she said, she popped back up, was
Yeah.
puking. Blah.
Yeah.
So very intense experiences, and listened to several podcasts, firsthand accounts, listening to the vets who went through this, obviously on a 3-hour podcast, 5-hour podcast, explain things in great detail. I mean, so how do you, argue with that and just label that a terrible drug? It's becoming bigger in the medical field, and it from the sounds of it, it's got extreme intense psychological, it can change you psychologically.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, because I wanted to say, like, I've been throughout this, I've been kind of probably giving off like negative, like, oh, you probably shouldn't, and I wholeheartedly agree with you saying wait past 18. Everyone wants to jump into it, but give yourself time. So I'm more in the school of thought of like, let your brain develop in. However, this is going to sound very unresearched. I wish I had actual examples, but there's tons of research coming out with like MDMA, ayahuasca, mushrooms, for PTSD that they're using with vets.
Yeah.
So if there's people out there who are getting to the end of their ladder, and they're not seeing too many more rungs left, it could be a great option,
Yeah.
Like, do your research, obviously.
Yeah. You're not just running down to Mexico to a hut to trip out.
There's, these pills from the doctor aren't the only thing in existence.
Yeah. No, they're not. Yeah. Pharmaceuticals. Just a huge heist. But yeah. There are natural methods out there far better than just you are feeling like this, give you this pill. Well, every pill that you get these days there's a huge list of side effects. So, I mean, it's not always the route to go in cases of PTSD, which I really know nothing about. Yeah.
I'm sure there's some great utility what the doctors have to give, but it's not the only option, basically.
It's not the only option. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. That was way more intense than I thought it would be.
Yeah, dude.
That was the first time tear came out of my first time on this podcast. Even close. Even close. Like, I've gotten, like, mentally, I've gone in a couple times on this podcast where I've been, like, just sucked into whatever Anthony or Sam are saying.
Anthony's is pretty intense.
Yeah. Anthony's was more serious than I was expecting. It was.
You did research.
Anthony researched it. Yeah. But that was the first time that it brought up, like, emotions in me.
Yeah, man.
Of that. Wow. But, if I can bring it back a stage, bring it back a little bit. Yeah, I like what you said about not doing it young. And there's this huge push and this huge desire to, experiment. And I'm a big fan of that. I'm of the school of thought that you should experience as much as you can. Why not? When are you going to die? Like, you're 33 right now. Are you going to live to be 43, 53, 63, 83, 103? You don't fucking know.
Yeah.
So why not experience? However, at 18 years old, at 16 years old, even at 20 years old, 22, you're experiencing so much.
Man.
There's so many new. It's like, please understand that at that, like, 6 to 8 to 10 year window, you're going to experience more per capita than you will, at least we're 33, up until 33. Like, after like 24, 25, it's like, all right. It's like routine, But
yeah, man. You only get one brain. That thing has to last you until you die.
Yeah.
And 90 years is a long time. It goes by in the blink of an eye, but it's still a long time for your organs to function.
Yeah.
And
when does the brain stop fully developing? It's like 20.
They used to think it was like girls developed slightly quicker than boys, but it was like age 17 and 18, and now I think research is showing that it's actually further out. I think boys are like 20, 21.
I think boys it's 22. I think that's when
so it's like, I mean, you're talking about a very delicate balance of a bunch of chemicals operating up in our heads, making shit,
where it needs to be.
I would say to operate sharply.
I would say don't touch anything until your brain's done developing.
If you're in the developing point and those chemicals are still working out their ratios, and then you start throwing even something, which I would say, just given how medically legal it is these days, even something as harmless as marijuana takes control of receptors, basically hijacks receptors. You can't, and that's obviously going to stop, the chemical balancing from developing.
And obviously, really no one's going to take this advice. They're going to do what they're going to do, right?
Yeah.
But I would say and no one's going to take this advice, but alcohol.
Alcohol.
It's
like,
but like nicotine, you should, like, I smoked cigarettes for 10 years. Nicotine, you should never do.
Never do it.
Never, just don't even do it. Don't hit that vape. Don't hit that cigarette. Nicotine, you should never do. Alcohol, go at it. Small amounts, though. You should never let yourself be the dude in the middle of the street puking.
No.
You don't want to be that guy. You don't want to be that guy. We've been there. We've been that guy. And we're telling you, you don't want to be that guy. But the marijuana, and this one's hard because it's such a peaceful, such a productive drug. Like of the lightweights, of the featherweight drugs, it's so good. But at the same time, like you're saying, it messes with your chemicals.
Yeah, messes with the chemicals.
I would think in the perfect world, you'd wait till you're about 20, 22.
Yeah.
And then once you've got, first off, you're not damaging your brain. Secondly, you're going to gain some wisdom, so you're not going to be as dumb when you're on it. And also, you're going to be more productive between that 18 and 22 year marker.
Yeah.
At least the 18 and 20, 18, 21 marker. It's like you're going to be on a path where you're getting your career underway. You're getting your life underway.
Yeah. Such important times.
Yeah, but then once you turn 22, dude, just go. Go fuck it. No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, there's no rush. There's no rush. But to say, absolutely, drugs are bad. Don't do it.
That's dumb.
Yeah, there's a lot of evidence showing these days that there is a lot to be learned from them.
Yeah.
Granted, under the right circumstances and under watchful eyes, under guidance.
Do your research. No, Sun Tzu in The Art of War says I'm paraphrasing, but he says if you understand yourself but not your enemy, you're going to lose. If you understand your enemy but not yourself, you're going to lose. Understand yourself. When it gets into doing this, understand yourself and understand the drug isn't your enemy, but your counterpart. Understand both.
Sun Tzu always says that if you take troops from the center to reinforce the right flank, then the center is weak. If you take troops from the center to reinforce the left flank, then the center is weak. If you take troops from the center to reinforce both the left and right flanks, then all three fronts are weak. Isn't that crazy? How does that make sense? You're just spread too thin.
Spread too thin.
Yeah.
Well, you don't want to get separated.
No, you don't want to be spread too thin.
It's crazy. I've read The Art of War twice, and I don't remember that. We're out of time.
Wow, look at that.
All right.
Yeah.